Hi, I'm Wendy Turner, Executive Director of Michigan Public. You might have heard that public media is under threat. You're not wrong. But I come to tell you that your voice has power. Visit protectmypublicmedia.org, contact your lawmakers, and take a stand today.
When you think of the perfect corn tortilla, what comes to mind? Flavor, tenderness, simplicity. But the truth is, there's a lot that goes into the perfect tortilla. And it begins with the culinary technique known as nixtamalization.
Making tortillas is an act of love because of all the time it involves, all the work it involves, and all the different variables it involves. It's a lot.
It's a really beautiful process. It's almost like a meditation. You have to be very present. It invokes just a lot of the different senses and smelling the masa and cooking the masa.
Thousands of years ago, Aztec and Mayan civilizations invented nixtamalization. The process is where dried corn is cooked and soaked in an alkaline solution, usually lime. It softens the corn, and it has sustained cultures for centuries. It's also the first step in making some of my personal favorites, tamales, pozole, and of course, tortillas.
The process, it's a time process, and the calcium hydroxide is what makes this magic happen. It makes it more nutritious. It makes the corn soft, but also makes it possible for our bodies to absorb the corn and digest it and release all of its nutrients.
Renata Fernandez Dominguez and Rebecca Ostosh are the founders of Madre Masa. They make artisanal corn tortillas using this traditional method.
I spent many years studying in Mexico and living in Mexico. Renata's from Mexico, so that's always been a really beautiful common tie for us is that appreciation and that love for Mexico.
And let's face it, they also really missed the flavor and aroma of homemade tortillas.
And really questioning, why does this taste so much better than what I've been able to get in the US? And so together, too, we started asking those questions during the pandemic of, okay, we have a lot of corn here in Michigan. We don't have good tortillas. Why is that? We should be able to bridge that somehow.
Right. This is The Dish, a series where we meet some of Michigan's most talented cooks through one signature plate. I'm Mercedes Mejia. Today we're making fresh nixtamalized corn tortillas with Renata and Beck, the women behind Madre Masa. They'll tell us about this pre-Hispanic culinary method, explain why conventional corn tortillas just don't hold up in texture or flavor, and why it's important to them to bring this food tradition to the Grand Rapids area. Oh, your home is beautiful.
Thank you. We brought a little bit of Mexico. Please have a seat. Whatever you want to sit. Thank you.
Renata and Beck's home in Grand Rapids is a vibrant celebration of Mexico. Colorful woven fabrics, Mexican folk art on the walls, and a display of artisanal tequilas. On the dining room table are 2 jars of blue and yellow corn they get from a grower in West Michigan.
This is the field corn that we use. This is an organic Wapsie Valley, which is the yellow, and an heirloom blue dent, right? So this is the corn as we get it from the farm. These are basically the 2 ingredients we use.
This dried corn they use, also known as maize, isn't the same as sweet corn you would typically eat off the cob at a cookout.
So the farmer that you get the corn from produces the corn specifically for this purpose?
No. They actually work with distilleries in the area.
Okay.
So, they use corn in bourbon and whiskey. So they mostly produce it for that. So we were very lucky to find them and be purchasing from them.
Yeah. These heirloom, beautiful corns, it's very low production right now, of course, because it's really just right now they're being utilized for the spirit industry, as Renata mentioned, but not so much for tortillas. We don't see these beautiful, colorful tortillas everywhere in the community yet.
As a professor of Spanish at a nearby college, Renata says she's always been curious about food and her Mexican culture.
My specialization is colonial Latin America. So I've always been interested in the contact time, space, like 16th century, what was happening before the Spanish, the European arrival. So what was the diet like? What were they eating? How it changed? How it was transformed? So I've always been very interested about food and how food is also resistance. So for me, keeping these traditions, keeping this oral knowledge and passing through generation. The fact that we still have some recipes, some techniques that were not eliminated. It's a testimony of preserving this knowledge. So, and quite frankly, this for me was out of necessity. I was missing those flavors.
What are the tortillas that you grew up with?
Oh, the tortillas from the community molino, the community mill. My mom would go to buy the corn dough already, made freshly there, and then she would bring the masa home and make the tortillas for us. So that was like the corn smell, the corn taste, the earthy flavor, the nutty flavor that was missing for me here when I moved to the States, and that I couldn't get anywhere.
Meg, did you know the difference between the corn tortillas you find here just at the grocery store and then when you went to Mexico? Did you notice the difference?
I absolutely noticed the difference. I don't think I was so aware of the why, and so I was very intrigued, having lived in Mexico. For a couple of years, I knew what a good tortilla taste looked like. I knew here tortillas were not so great, or when you get them from the store, they kind of have that, sour smell to them when you open the bag, and so. I started asking those questions of why, and then when I was in Mexico, I was exposed to really all of these beautiful community mills, which is also not in every part of Mexico. They're kind of endangered as well. It's disappearing because there is a mass-produced flour on the market that has really taken over.
Similar to homemade bread, homemade corn tortillas can be made with simple, quality ingredients, no additives or preservatives.
A good nixtamalized tortilla with these ingredients, it's a superfood. And so when you go to the store, check the ingredients. You shouldn't have more than 3 ingredients, your tortillas.
And I'll add to, a lot of them, unfortunately, are just made with this very highly processed industrial flour, which is maseca. It's everywhere.
Maseca is a popular brand of dried corn flour. It can be used to make dough for tortillas, tamales, and many other foods. But for some, this commercial corn flour makes a poor substitute for fresh, stone-ground corn.
We can be highly critical, of course, in this family and this, here about maseca, but you have to start the tortillas from corn in order for it to be an authentic homemade tortilla. And so a lot of the ones that are on the shelf, again, that do have a lot of these preservatives and additives, or they might just go through a very fast, industrial process using a very low quality corn. Might be GMO, it just might not be as healthy for the human body. And so, you're gonna just experience a very big difference there too.
Beck and Renata want more people to know the benefits of nixtamalization. Again, this is the process where dried corn is cooked and soaked in an alkaline solution. It transforms the corn, making it softer and increasing its nutritional value. Renata and Beck tell us how they go from kernel to masa. And they'll tell us right after the break.
Hi, I'm Wendy Turner, Executive Director of Michigan Public. You might have heard that public media is under threat. You're not wrong. But I come to tell you that your voice has power. Visit protectmypublicmedia.org, contact your lawmakers, and take a stand today.
So after the corn is nixtamalized and rest for 8 to 12 hours, then the grinding process starts. And that those 2 stones are volcanic stones. And also that is an important part of the process. These are wet stones. We have a wet mill. And the stones, they grind the corn in such a way that what you get is the dough.
This process of wet milling is really unique to Mexico, and so a lot of people do think that when you're milling, you get a flour. That's what we see here for wheat, especially, right? And what's beautiful about our tortillas and what makes them unique is that everything is done on a wet mill, and so these volcanic stones, they get soaked in water, and then we put them on our mill, and then they mash, cut, aerate that, so the finished product is a dough. It's not a flour at all.
Right,
and because
it's wet.
Yeah, and we've boiled too the corn, so it's absorbed a lot of water in that process. So then it's getting all mashed up, and then the product is a dough or masa.
Well, let's take a look.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to start with the stones that have been soaked in water. They need to be wet.
While most wet mills are huge because they're used for factory production, this one is smaller than a mini fridge and it sits on the kitchen counter. It's a compact stainless steel box with a wide opening at the top for the nixtamalized corn to enter.
So what you're going to see here, the masa is going to start coming out. And you're going to hear a lot of noise because the machine is loud.
The kernels are dropped from the top, then tumbled down between the two wet stones for grinding.
So, it kind of snowflakes off.
The wet mill spits out the ground corn, and the texture is moist, light, and fluffy.
We have like a little...
Can I touch it?
Yeah, please. Yeah, we can all touch this. You can even
Oh,
try
wow.
a little bit if
Yeah.
you want to. You can pull a fresh piece.
Yeah.
So technically,
It's basically
cooked,
like a
too.
dough. Yeah, and it's cooked.
Because we've cooked the corn itself and we've let it soak overnight. And so tortillas are actually, twice cooked. Once for the masa, and then, later when you cook it on the griddle.
You can smell it. You can kind of
You
start
can.
smelling it.
Yes, yeah. Feel free to smell it.
And this is the blue corn.
It smells so good. This is the blue corn, exactly. It's an organic blue dent variety.
So how much do you produce every week?
It depends. We easily make a couple hundred tortillas on Fridays and get, masa orders as well. We sell our masa by the pound. We try not to go beyond that because, again, we're pressing everything by hand. We're milling everything as well. And so we have had a couple orders that have been a little bit beyond us. So we've learned kind of what our sweet spot is for how many orders we can actually accept.
After about 10 minutes of milling the corn, the masa is ready.
Almost done.
Looking good.
Okay. We're done.
So now you're putting it in the mixing bowl.
Yep. I'm gonna mix it up so that all of those components as well just get really thoroughly mixed. All of our oils from the corn, the starches, they'll all start to integrate together.
Renata gathers some dough and forms a small ball. Then she uses a press to make the tortilla.
All right, so this press is very heavy. And we usually make like 1 ounce balls of tortilla, but this time I'm just gonna eyeball it and make it for you guys.
Okay.
The tortilla press is bright yellow. It's square with 2 wide plates and a handle to squish the dough in between.
And we're gonna put it here in between these food grade plastic liners. We need the liners to prevent the masa from sticking. We're gonna press once. See? We're gonna press another time.
After a few presses, the dough is flattened into a perfectly round circle, about 6 inches
I'm
wide.
gonna try to take it out of the liner and put it on the hot griddle. The temperature, it's about 400 Fahrenheit. It likes it really, really hot.
And but you didn't put any oil or anything else on it, just dry.
Just dry, yeah.
Okay.
That's a fresh tortilla right here. And we're gonna flip it 3 times.
No special equipment for flipping the tortillas. So your fingers have had a lot of
Oh,
experience.
my fingers are, they don't feel anything.
I know, right? Oh man.
The sign of a good tortilla is when it puffs up.
It's bubbling up.
The puff is key
Okay.
because that is what makes a layer here, and that's what makes it it prevents the tortilla from breaking.
You know how a corn tortilla you get at the grocery store sort of falls apart when you fold it? This isn't that. These tortillas are pliable, they don't crumble, and the smell is incredible. There's nothing like eating a fresh corn tortilla right off the griddle.
Did it ruin the experience for you? Can you not eat any other? That was awesome.
It's creamy, but it's like chewy, soft. I don't think I've had a tortilla like that. It is so flavorful.
We filled our yellow and blue corn tortillas with grilled chicken, beans, cheese, and fresh salsa. So good. What do people say when they have your tortillas? What are some of the things that people have told you?
Well, they get speechless. They go like, No, they've said that we've ruined all their other tortilla experiences.
I believe
It's the biggest compliment I think we get of folks just saying, like, I can't go back, and I also have to wait for Fridays and be in Grand Rapids, to get your tortillas. And so, yeah, we love hearing that. And some people too are just like, I had no idea this is what a tortilla is supposed to taste like. A big part of our project that we love is the cultural reconnection piece, and so we have also, have a big Latino population here in Grand Rapids, and we've had folks who have tried nixtamal tortillas for the first time, and others who maybe haven't had one in decades or years, and they'll try our tortillas, and it will either kind of transport them back to their grandmother's kitchen, and bring up a lot of those beautiful memories, or two, it will just be this total moment of culture shock of, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So who have you learned from in this process?
Well, several people, Instagram in a way has connected us to people who are knowledgeable about corn and who have been doing this before us. And we actually have gotten together in Minneapolis with a group just to study different varieties of corn, and which corn is more it's better for tortilla and masa, because not all corn is appropriate for tortilla or masa. So it's little by little that we found these groups.
Yeah, we've made some wonderful alliances and friends, and just common nixtamal lovers and obsessive people over this process. But we travel a lot to Mexico, and so we always go to the tortillerías, and the folks that aren't on Instagram, we also show up. We do a lot of research around who's making nixtamal in these local communities and who we can connect to. In the past, that's been asking questions maybe again about cooking times. The next time we head over, we have a lot of questions about sharpening our stones, which is a really critical component also of some of the making. And so there's so much involved in the process, but everyone has a lot of knowledge to share and are extremely generous, we found too, with sharing that knowledge.
Yeah.
With Madre Masa, Beck and Renata are bringing the community meal concept from Mexico to Michigan and reconnecting with this ancient culinary technique.
This project has allowed me to reconnect and understand my mom so much. She's not with us anymore, but it really has helped me to feel her closer. She loved to make tortillas. She refused to buy tortillas from industrial flour. And now I understand her much better, right? And we would say oh, Mom, don't be so special. But no, she knew.
We also see it as a form of therapy for ourselves and and others, to share that as well, because it's a really beautiful process. It just awakens so much. For us, it's been really beautiful to, one, have that experience for ourselves, and then two, share that with others and provide that experience. I'm Beck Astash.
I'm Renata Fernandez Dominguez.
Today we made fresh nixtamalized tortillas utilizing Wapsie Valley and Blue Dent corn, and that's the dish.
Thanks to Renata and Beck of Madre Masa for sharing their love of tortilla making with me. I'll put a link in the show notes where you can find beautiful photos of them and the process. Truly the best corn tortillas I've ever tasted. I do need to make a quick correction. At the beginning of the podcast, I said the couple has a bunch of artisanal tequilas on display. Renata let me know they don't actually drink tequila, only mezcal. Thanks for the correction, Renata. If you liked this episode, share it with a friend. And if you want to hear more from local Michigan chefs and passionate home cooks, hit the subscribe button. Today's episode was produced by myself and edited by Ronia Kabansag and Laura Weber Davis. Music for the show comes from Blue Dot Sessions and from Audio Network. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time.